Friends, my channel name is Indian Epic History. Search this channel name on YouTube, then go to the playlist option for all my videos like Ramayana, Mahabharata, Puran. Otherwise, click the channel name below the video, then go to the playlist. This is Buri Critical Valmiki Ramayana book Balkanda 47. Having met, they asked about each other's welfare. After the conversation was over, Sumati addressed the great sage in this word, O fortunate one, these two young ones are like the gods in their valor. Press the red subscribe option and press the bell icon for my latest video updates. These brave ones possesses the strength of elephants and lions. They are like tigers and bulls. Their eyes are large like the petals of lotuses. They hold swords, quivers, and bows. They are about to become adults and are as handsome as the Ashwins. They are like immortals from the world of the gods who have followed their will and come down to earth. Why have they come here, O sage? What is the reason? Whose sons are they? They are ornaments for this kingdom, like the moon and the sun in the sky. The proportions of their limbs and signs are just like each other's, identical. What is the reason why this best of men have traversed this difficult path? These brave ones wield the best of weapons. I wish to hear the truth about this. Hearing his words, Vishwamitra told him about what had happened. The residents in Siddhrashrama and the slaughter of the Rakshasas. Hearing Vishwamitra's words, the king was greatly delighted. Dasharatha's son had arrived there as great guest. He worshipped them in the proper way and tended to the two extremely strong ones. The two Raghavas were honored extremely well by Sumati. After having spent a night there, they left for Mithila. On seeing Janaka's secret city, all the sages had words of commendation and praise for Mithila and worshipped it. Raghava saw that there was a hermitage in a grove near Mithila. This looks like a beautiful hermitage. Why has it been abandoned by the sages? O illustrious one, I wish to hear about it. Whose hermitage was it earlier? Hearing the words spoken by Raghava, the immensely energetic and great sage Vishwamitra, eloquent in the use of words, replied, O Raghava, I will tell you with pleasure. Hear the truth about whose hermitage this was and which great soul one cursed it in rage. O best among men, earlier it belonged to the great soul Gautama. This hermitage was divine and it was worshipped even by the gods. Earlier, he practiced austerities here together with Ahilya. O prince, the immensely illustrious one spent innumerable years here, discarding that there was an opportunity. The thousand-eyed one, Indra, Sachi's husband, assumed the garb of a sage. He came to Ahilya and addressed her in these words, O one who is well proportioned, those who seek pleasure do not wait for the time of consumption to arrive. O slender waisted one, I desire to have intercourse with you. O descendant of the Raghu lineage, she knew that it was the one with the 1,000 eyes. 1,000 eyes means Indra in the grave of a sage. However, because of her curiosity, the evil minded one ascended to what the king of the gods wanted. Satisfied in her heart of hearts, she told the best of the gods, O best among the gods, I have been satiated, O Lord. However, leave this spot quickly, O Lord of the gods, O one who shows honors, always protect me and your own self. Indra laughed at these words and told Ahilya, O one with the excellent hips, I am also satiated. I will go back to where I have come from. After the act of intercourse, he emerged from the cottage. O Rama, he was terrified and scared that Gautama might return. He saw that the great sage Gautama was entering. He was full of the strength of austerities, and the gods and Danavas found him impossible to withstand. He blazed like the fire and was wet with water from various tirthas. The bull among sages arrived there after collecting kindling and kusha grass. On seeing him, the lord of the gods were terrified. His face bore the marks of distress. Seeing the one with the 1,000 eyes, means Indra, attired in the garb of a sage, the sage, full of good conduct, became angry. He spoke these words to the one with evil conduct. O evil minded one, you have assumed my form and have done this. Since you have done what should not have been done, you will become infertile. The great soul sage Gautama said this in rage, and instantly the testicles of the thousand-eyed one fell down on the ground. Having cursed Sakra, he was cursed his wife. You will reside here for many thousands of years, subsisting on air and without food. You will torment yourself through austerities. You will sleep on ashes. You will live in this hermitage, unseen by all creatures. When the invincible Rama, Dasharatha's son, arrives in this terrible forest, you will be purified, O one who is evil in conduct. When he becomes your guest, you will lose your avarice and confusion. You will then regain your own form and find delight with me. The extremely energetic Gautama spoke in this way to the one who was evil in conduct. He abandoned this hermitage once frequented by Siddhas and Charanas. The great ascetic performed austerities on a beautiful summit in the Himalayas. So Ahilya was a great lady. Ahilya was a sati lady according to Rama, not according to sage Vishwamitra. Next chapter 48. Having been rendered infertile with Agni at the forefront and with a distressed face, Chakra spoke to the gods and large numbers of rishis and charanas. I have caused an obstruction in the austerities of the great soul Gautama and have ignited his rage, but I have accomplished a task for the gods. Having been rendered infertile with Agni at the forefront and with a distressed face, Shakra spoke to the gods and large numbers of rishis and charanas. I have caused an obstruction in the austerities of the great soul Gautama and have ignited his rage, but I have accomplished a task for the gods. In his rage, he has rendered me infertile and has vanished her because he released that great curse. I have been able to rob him of his store of austerities. I have helped the cause of the gods, O best among the gods, O large number of rishis, O charanas. Therefore, all of you should strive to render me potent again. Hearing Shatakratu's words, the gods, with all the Maruts and with Agni at the forefront, went to the ancestors and spoke these words. This Ram has testicles and Shakra has lost his testicles. Quickly take away the testicles from this Ram and give them to Shakra to cause you delight. If humans offer you rams without testicles, even then you will grant them supreme satisfaction. Hearing Agni's word, the assembled ancestors severed the Rama's testicles and gave them to the thousand-eyed one. O Kukutsa, since then the assembled ancestors enjoy Ramas without testicles and discard the testicles if those are offered. O Raghava, since then Indra possesses the testicle of a Ram. This is as a result of the power of austerities. Rama means a goat. Okay. Result of the powers of austerities of the great soul Gautama, O immensely energetic one, therefore enter the hermitage of the performer of auspicious deeds, save the immensely fortunate Ahilya, who has the form of a goddess. Hearing Vishwamitra's words, with Vishwamitra at the forefront, Raghava entered the hermitage, accompanied by Lakshmana. He saw the immensely fortunate one radiant in complexion because of her austerities. He approached the one who could not be seen by the worlds, not even by the gods and Asuras. She had been carefully crafted by the Creator using divine Maya. Her limbs were covered in smoke, and she was like the blazing flames of a fire. She was like a cloud covered in showy mist, with a radiance like that of the full moon. She was unappropriable with the complexion of the blazing sun amidst a store of water. Because of Gautama's words, she had been rendered invisible to the three worlds until she had seen Rama. The two Raghavas approached her and touched her feet. Remembering Gautama's words, she received them extremely controlled. She treated them as guests and offered Padya and Argha. Following the prescribed rites, Kukutsa accepted this hospitality. A great shower of flowers descended from above, and the drums of the gods were sounded. There was a large assembly of Gandharvas and Apsaras. The gods worshipped Ahilya and uttered words of praise. She had followed Gautama's instructions and had purified her limbs through the strength of austerities. The immensely energetic Gautama was happy with Ahilya. Following the prescribed ordinance, the great ascetic worshipped Rama. Rama also worshipped the great sage Gautama in excellent ways. Having met him in the proper way, he then moved on to Mithila. Next, chapter 14, with Vishwamitra at the forefront and with Saumitri means Lakshman, Rama then travelled towards the northeast and arrived at the sacrificial arena with Lakshmana. Rama spoke to the tiger among sages. The sacrifice of the great soul Janaka is auspicious and prosperous. O immensely fortunate one, there are many thousand Brahmanas who have come here. There are the residents of many countries and are accomplished in studying the Vedas. The residences of the rishis can be seen, and there are hundreds of carts. O Brahmana, we should identify a proper spot for us to dwell. Hearing Rama's words, Vishwamitra the great sage instructed that an abode should be constructed in an uninhabited spot that had water. Hearing that Vishwamitra, the best among sages, had arrived, the great king came with his unblemished priest, Shatanananda, at the forefront. With Argha, the great souled officiating priest, also arrived. Following Dharma, they offered this and water sanctified with mantras to Vishwamitra. The great souled one accepted Janaka's worship. He asked about the king's welfare and about whether all was well and the sacrifice. As is proper, the sage carefully asked about the priest and the preceptors and about all those who had arrived. The king joined his hands in salutation and spoke to the best among sages, O illustrious one, with all the excellent sages, please be seated. Hearing Janaka's word, the great sage sat down. With his officiating priest at the forefront and with his ministers, so did the king. On seeing that everyone had properly sat down on seats in different directions, the king spoke to Vishwamitra. Today the gods have ensured that my sacrifice will be successful, O illustrious one. Now, what I have seen you, I will obtain the fruits of the sacrifice. I am blessed, I am favored, O bull among sages, O Brahmana. With all the sages, you have come to this sacrificial arena, O Brahmana Rishi, the learned ones have said that only 12 days remain for the sacrifice to be concluded. O Kaushika, you should remain here to see the gods receive their shares. With a cheerful face, the king addressed the tiger among sages in this way. Controlling himself, he joined his hands in salutation and asked, O fortunate one, these two young ones are like the gods in their valor. These brave ones possess the steeds of elephants and lions. They are like tigers and bulls. They have large eyes and that are like the petals of lotuses. They hold swords, quivers, and bows. They are like the Ashwins in beauty and are about to become adults. They are like immortals from the world of the gods who have voluntarily come down to earth. O sage, why have they come here on foot? What is the reason? Whose sons are they? O great sage, these brave ones wield the best of weapons. Whose sons are they? They are ornaments for the country like the moon and the sun in the sky. They are identical to each other in the proportion of their limbs and in their bodily signs. These brave ones possess side locks that are like the wings of a crow. I wish to hear the truth about this. Hearing the words of Janaka, the great soul one, told him that these two were Dasharatha's great soul sons. He also recounted the residents in Siddhasama, the slaughter of the Rakshasas, their subsequent sight of Vishala, the meeting with Ahilya, Gautama's arrival, and their decision to come there to examine the great bow. Vishwamitra, the great sage, told all this to the great soul and immensely energetic Janaka. He then stopped. Next chapter 50. Hearing the words of the intelligent Vishwamitra, the body hair of the immensely energetic and great sage, uh, Shatananda stood up. He was Gautama's eldest son and was extremely radiant because of his austerities. Shatananda was Gautam and Ahilya's son. Having seen Rama, he was supremely astounded. Those two princes were happily seated with their heads bowed. On seeing them, Shatananda spoke to Vishwamitra, best among sages, or tiger among sages. After having performed austerities for a long period of time, my illustrious mother showed herself to these two princes using forest fare. My illustrious mother worshipped the immensely energetic Rama, who deserves to be worshipped by all creatures that have bodies. You have told Rama about the ancient account whereby my mother was treated badly by that immensely energetic god. O Kaushika, O fortunate one, O best among sages, after having met Rama, my mother has been united with my senior. O descendant of the Kaushika, my senior has been worshipped by Rama. The immensely energetic and great souled one has now arrived here and deserves to be worshipped. O descendant of the Kaushika, before coming here, did Rama honor my father with a peaceful and controlled state of mind? The great sage Vishwamitra was accomplished in the use of words and eloquent in speech. Hearing Satananda's word, he replied, O best among sages, I have not neglected anything that I could have done. The sage has been united with his wife just as Bhargava was with Renuka. Hearing the words of the intelligent Vishwamitra, the immensely energetic Satananda spoke these words to Rama. O best among men, welcome, O Raghava. It is good fortune that you have come here. With Vishwamitra, the unvanquished Maharishi, leading the way. The Brahmana Rishi is infinite in his splendor and austerities and has accomplished unthinkable deeds. The immensely energetic Vishwamitra has to be recognized as the supreme destination or Rama. The truth is that there is no one on earth who is more blessed than he is. You have been protected by Kaushika's son, who tormented himself through great austerities. Listen, I will tell you about the great soul Kaushika, about his strength and his conduct. Listen attentively. For a long time, the destroyer of enemies used to be a king with dharma in his soul. He knew about dharma and was accomplished in learning. It was devoted to the welfare of the subjects. There was a king named Kusha, and he was Prajapati's son. Kusha's son was the powerful Kushanaba, who was extremely devoted to Dharma. Kushanaba's son was the famous Gadhi, the immensely energetic and great sage. Vishwamitra is Gadhi's son. The immensely energetic Vishwamitra ruled over the earth. He was the king and ruled the kingdom for many thousand years. On one occasion, the immensely energetic one arrayed an army. Surrounded by an Akshwani, he roamed around the earth. The immensely progressively traveled through cities, kingdoms, rivals, and mountains, and arrived at a hermitage. This was Vishwamitra's hermitage, and there was trees with many kinds of flowers and fruits. There, there were diverse kinds of animals, and the place was frequented by Siddhas and Charanas. It was adorned by gods, Danavas, and Gandharvas, and those who were in the form of Kinnaras. It was populated by peaceful deer, and large number of birds dwelt there. It was full of large number of Brahmana rishis and inhabited by Dev rishis. There was Siddhas who praised austerities, and those great souled ones were like the fire. There was prosperity everywhere, and there were great souled ones who were like Brahma. Some lived on water, others survived on air. There were others who subsisted on dry leaves. There were self controlled ones who lived on fruits and roots. They had conquered anger and had conquered their senses. They were Balakhilya rishis devoted to chanting and the offering of oblations. Vishwamitra's hermitage was like Brahma's world. The immensely strong Vishwamitra, best among victorious ones, saw that. Next, chapter 51. Seeing this, the immensely young Vishwamitra was greatly delighted in humility. The brave one bowed down before Vasishtha, supreme among those who meditate. The great soul Vasishtha said, "Welcome." The illustrious Vasishtha requested him to take a seat. When the intelligent Vishwamitra had seated himself as is proper, the supreme among sages offered him roots and fruits. The supreme among kings accepted the honor Vasishtha showed him. The immensely energetic Vishwamitra asked him about the well-beings of austerities and Agnihotra, the disciples, and the trees. Vishwamitra told the supreme among kings that all was well everywhere. King Vishwamitra was seated comfortably. The great ascetic Vishwamitra, Brahma's son, the best among those who meditate, then asked, "O king, is everything well with you? Do you take delight in dharma, O king? O one who follows dharma, are you upright in ruling over your subjects? Are your servants well trained? Do they adhere to your commands, O slayer of enemies? Have you defeated all your enemies, O scorcher of enemies, O tiger among men? O unblemished one, is everything well about your army, treasury, friends, and your sons and grandsons?" The king told Vasishtha that all was well everywhere. The immensely energetic Vishwamitra behaved in a humble way towards Vasishtha. Devoted to dharma, they spent a long period of time in conversing about auspicious accounts. They were supremely delighted and behaved affectionately towards each other. O descendant of the Raghu lineage, when the conversation was over, the illustrious Vasishtha smiled and spoke these words to Vishwamitra. "O greatly strong one, I wish to show my hospitality towards you and your army. O immeasurable one, accept the honors that you deserve. I wish to behave properly towards you. Please accept what I am about to render. O king, you are the best of guests, and I will make efforts to show you worship." When Vishwamitra spoke in this way, the immensely intelligent king Vishwamitra replied, "You have always shown me hospitality. You have given me honor through your words, O illustrious one. I have received the fruits and roots that can be obtained in the hermitage. O illustrious one, I have received Padya and Achamanya, and I have seen you, O immensely wise one. You have worshipped me well in every possible way of worship. I bow down before you. I will depart now. Please look on me with eyes of affection. The king spoke in this way. However, Vasishtha, with dharma in his soul, invited him again and repeatedly entered him. At this, Gadi's son agreed and replied to Vasishtha, O illustrious one, O supreme sage, then so be it, whatever brings you pleasure. Thus addressed, the immensely energetic Vasishtha, supreme among those who meditate, was delighted. The one who was cleansed of sin surmounted his speckled cow, O Shabala, come here quickly and listen to my words. I wish to make all the arrangements to treat this royal sage and his army. Make all the arrangements for an extremely expensive banquet. Let every desirable food be brought, characterized by the six kinds of flavors, O divine one, O one with yield every object of desire for my sake. Sure all of this down. Let the food be succulent, let there be drink, let there be lehya and chosya, or soba, swiftly created a store of every kind of food. Next, chapter 52. O slayer of enemies, Vasishtha spoke to Shubala in this way: the cow that can be milked for every object of desire brought everything that had been wished for. There was sugarcane, honey, parched grain, Maria, the best of Ashava, expensive kinds of drinks and deserved kinds of food to eat. There was heaps of the hot food piled as high as mountains. There were sweetmeats, liquids, and flows of curds. There were many kinds of succulent juices with the six kinds of flavors. The vessels were full of thousands of products made out of cane. All the people there were satisfied. They are well and were cheerful. O Rama, Vasishtha made Vishwamitra's army content. O royal sage, Vishwamitra rejoiced at having been fed so well. Those who were in the king's inner quarters and the brahmanas and the priests were also fed well. The advisors, ministers, and servants were also honored in this way. Filled with great delight, he spoke to Vasishtha, O Brahmana, you deserve to be worshipped, yet you have honored us well and worshipped us, O one who is eloquent in speech. Hear my words now. Give me Sobala in exchange for 100 cows. O illustrious one, she is a jewel and a kind of the one who would accumulate jewels. O Brahmana, give me Subala according to Dharma, she belonged to me. The illustrious Vasishtha, supreme among sages, was addressed in this way. The one with Dharma in his soul replied to Vasishtha, the Lord of the earth, O king, in exchange for 100,000 cows, 1 billion cows, or large amount of silvers, I am incapable of giving you Subala. O destroyer of enemies, I should not abandon her, nor should she be separated from me. Subala is eternally inseparable from me, like deeds are from one's own self. She is the one who provides Havya Kavya, the means of sustaining my life and undertaking Agnihotra, and the source of sacrificial offerings and oblations. She is the source of utterance of Savaha and Vashakara and different kinds of learning. O royal sage, there is no doubt that all of these are obtained because of her. In truth, she represents everything for me and she always satisfies me. O king, there are many kinds of seasons why I cannot give you Subala. Vasishtha was eloquent in speech and spoke these words. However, Vishwamitra became exceedingly angry and said, I will give you 14,000 elephants that have golden harnesses and are decorated with golden necklace and golden goats. I will give you 800 golden chariots and are ornamented with thinking bells, each yoked to 4 white horses. O one who is excellent in Boss, I will give you 11,000 extremely energetic horses born in a noble lineages from the best of countries. I will give you 10 million adult cows classified into different complexions. Give me the single cow, Subala. When the intelligent Vishwamitra spoke in this way, the illustrious one replied, O king, under no circumstances will I give you Subala. She alone is my gem. She alone represents my treasure. She is everything to me. She is truly my life. When sacrifices are performed at the time of the new moon and the full moon, she is the one who supplies the dakshina. O king, she is the one who ensures the performance of many kinds of rites. O king, there is no doubt that all my rites have her as foundation. There is no need to speak anymore. I will not give the one who can be milked for every object of desire. The sage Vasishtha refused to give up the Kamdhenu, O Rama. Vasishtha then started to drag Subala away. O Rama, a Subala was dragged away by the great soul king. She was miserable, afflicted by grief, and thinking about this, she wept, Why have I been abandoned by extremely great soul Vasishtha? I am distressed and extremely miserable, being thus saged by the servants of the king. What injury have I done to the Maharshi with the cleansed soul? I have committed no crime. I am devoted to him and love him. Why is the one who is devoted to Dharma abandoning me? She thought in this way and cited repeatedly. With great speed, she dashed towards the extremely energetic Vasishtha, or destroyer of enemies. She flung away the hundreds of servants. With the speed of the wind, she rushed towards the feet of the great soul one. She wept and lamented. The immensely strong Vasishtha spoke in this way to Vishwamitra, asking him to wait. He raised the Agnya weapon in anger. The illustrious Vasishtha spoke these words, O worthless Kshatriya, stay there and show me whatever strength you possess. O son of Gadi, I will destroy your insolence and your weapons. What is the strength of Kshatriyas when it faces the great strength of Brahmanas? O worst of Kshatriyas, behold my divine strength, one that comes from being a Brahmana. With the supreme Agnya weapon invoked on the Brahmana's rod, he pacified the weapon of Gadi's son. Like a flood of water does as a fire. In rage, Gadi's descended hurled Varuna, Rodra, Indra, Pashupata, and Eshika weapons, and Manava, Mohana, Gandharva, Swapana, Jrimbhana, Mohana, Santapana, and Bilapana. There were Shohana and Dharana and the Vajra weapon, which is extremely difficult to withstand. There was Brahma's nose, Kala's nose, and Varuna's nose. There was the beloved weapon Pinaka, the weapon that dries up, the weapon that waits, and the weapon that is like thunder. There were the weapons Danda, Peshacha, and Roncha. There were the chakras of Dharma, Kala, and Vishnu. There were the weapons Babaya, Mathana, and Hayashira. He hurled two spears known as Kankala and Moshala. There was the extremely great weapon of the Vidyadharas and Kala's terrible weapon. There was the terrible trident and Kapala and Kankana, or descendant of the Raghu lineage. He hurled all these different weapons. Vasishtha is supreme among those who meditate, and what transpired was extraordinary. The son of the Brahmana used his staff to devour all of these. When all these were pacified in anger, Gadi's descendant invoked Brahmastra. On seeing that Brahmastra had been invoked, all the gods with Agni and the forefront, the divine rishis, the Gandharvas, the giant serpents, and all the three worlds were terrified. However, even the extremely terrible Brahmastra was devoured by the Brahmanas. Angry, O Raghava Vasishtha devoured everything through the Brahmana's tub. The great soul Vasishtha devoured Brahmastra and assumed an extremely terrible and fierce form that confounded the three worlds. From the great soul Vasishtha's body here, flames seemed to emerge, and those fiery rays seemed to be tinged with smoke. The Brahmana's tub flamed as it was held in his hand. It was like the fire of destruction, devoid of smoke, and was like Yama's rod. The large number of sages praised Vasishtha, supreme among those who meditate. O Brahmana, your strength is invincible, and so is the energy you bear and ignite. O Brahmana, you have countered the great ascetic Vishwamitra, or supreme among those who meditate. Show your favors, let the distress of the worlds be dissipated. Thus addressed, the immensely strong and great ascetic was calmed, countered. Vishwamitra cited and spoke these words: Shame on the strength of Kshatriyas. The strength of the Brahmanas' energy is indeed the strength that is most powerful. A single stab of a Brahmana has destroyed all my weapons. On examining the matter, my mind and senses are pleased. I will resort to great austerities so that I can become a Brahmana. And next chapter, his heart was tormented, remembering the subjugation he had been subjected to. Because of the enmity with the great souled one, he cited repeatedly O Raghava with his wife. He headed for the southern direction. Vishwamitra, the great ascetic, subjected himself to supreme austerities. He followed self control, practicing those supreme austerities and subsisting on fruits and roots. He had sons who were devoted to truth and dharma. Havishpanda, Madhushpanda. After a full 1000 years, Brahma, grandfather of the world, spoke these sweet words to Vishwamitra. The store of austerities, O sons of Koshika, through your austerities you have conquered the worlds meant for Rajrishis. Because of your austerities, we will know you as a Rajrishi. Having said this, with the other gods, the immensely energetic Brahma, the supreme lord of the worlds, went to heaven and the Brahma's world. Hearing this, Vishwamitra was somewhat ashamed and crestfallen, full of great misery and intolerance. He said, Despite my having practiced great austerities, all the gods and the large number of rishis have only come to know me as a Rajrishi. I think all my austerities have been fruitless. O Kukucha, having made up his mind in this way, the supreme soul and great ascetic undertook supreme austerities again. At that time, there was the famous uh, Trishanku, a descendant of the lineage of the Ishwakus. He was truthful in speech and had conquered in his senses, O Raghava. His mind turned onwards, undertaking a sacrifice whereby in his own physical body he could go to the supreme destination of the gods. Having thought of this, he invited Vasishtha. However, the great soul Vasishtha expressed his inability. Having been refused by Vasishtha, he left for the southern direction where Vasishtha's sons had been tormenting themselves through austerities for a long time. Trishanku saw 100 of Vasishtha's supremely radiant, extremely energetic, and illustrious sons tormenting themselves. He approached all those great souled sons of his preceptor. He first greeted them, somewhat ashamed and with a downcast face. He joined his hands in salutation and addressed all those greatly energetic ones. I have come here to seek refuge with you. You are the ones who grant refuge, and I am one who seeks refuge. O fortunate ones, I have been refused By the great soul Vasishtha, I wish to perform a great sacrifice, and you should grant me your permission. I have bowed down before all the sons of my preceptors, seeking their favors. O Brahmanas, you have based yourselves in austerities, and I bow down my head and worship you. I desire that you self controlled ones should ensure the success of my sacrifice so that I can reach the world of the gods in my own physical body. O stores of austerities refused by Vasishtha, I do not see any other refuge anywhere, with the exception of all the sons of my preceptor. For all those who belong to the Ishvaku lineage, priests are the supreme destination. Therefore, thereafter, all of you are like gods to me. Next chapter, O Rama, on hearing Trishanku's words, the 100 sons of the Rishi were enraged. They addressed the king in these words, O evil minded one, you have been refused by your preceptor who is truthful in speech. How can you cross him and approach a different branch? In every salutation, priests are the supreme destination for those of the Ishvaku lineage. We are incapable of negating the words of the one who is truthful in speech. The illustrious Rishi Vasishtha has conveyed his inability. How can you then think of inviting us to undertake such a sacrifice, O best among men? You are foolish. You should go back to your own city, O king. In a three words, that illustrious person is the only one who can undertake such a sacrifice. Hearing their words, the king's eyes dilated in rage. He again addressed them in their words. I have been refused by my preceptor and by the sons of my preceptor, O stores of austerities. May you be fortunate, I will find another destination. Hearing those terrible words, the sons of the Rishi became extremely angry. They cursed him. You will become a Chandala. Saying this, those great souled ones entered their own respective hermitage. When the night was over, the king became a Chandala. He was dark and was attired in dark blue garments. His form was harsh and his hair stood up like a standard. He was smeared in paste and adorned with garlands from funeral pyres. His ornaments was made out of iron. Seeing this, all the ministers abandoned the person who now had the form of a Chandala or Rama. The citizens who followed him also fled, O Kukutsa, alone. The king went to the supreme soul Vishwamitra, the store of austerities, who was scorching himself day and night. O Rama, Vishwamitra saw that the king had been unsuccessful. Seeing his form of a Chandala, the sage was overcome by compassion. The extremely energetic one, supremely devoted to Dharma, spoke these words to the king, who was terrible in form. May you be fortunate, O prince, O immensely strong one. What task has brought you here, O brave one? O Lord of Ayodhya has been cursed and has attained the state of Chandala. He was addressed in these words by one who was eloquent in speech. Hearing these words, the king, who had become a Chandala, joined in hands in salutation and said, I have been rebuffed by my preceptor and by the sons of my preceptor. I have not accomplished my wish and am now confronted by this catastrophe. O one who is amiable to behold, I desire to go to heaven in my own physical body. I have to perform 100 sacrifices but have not obtained that fruit. I have never uttered a lie in the past, nor will I ever utter a falsehood. O amiable one, following the dharma of Kshatriyas, I bunch that this is the reason of this catastrophe. Curse me if it is otherwise. I have performed many kinds of sacrifices. I have followed dharma and ruled over the subjects. I have satisfied my great soul preceptors with my good conduct. I shout and desired to perform a sacrifice in accordance with dharma, O bull among sages. However, My preceptors are not content at this. I think that destiny is supreme and human endeavor is fulfilled. Destiny cannot be crossed in every way. Destiny is the supreme refuge. That is the reason I am supremely afflicted and seek your favors. I am, O fortunate one, my deeds have been countered by destiny. You should do what needs to be done. There is no other destination for me. There is no other refuge for me. You should counter destiny through your human endeavor. O best among men, O descendant of the Raghu lineage, having taken uh, Shunashepa when it was known, O immensely illustrious king rested in Pushkara. While he was resting, the immensely illustrious Shunashepa also come to the excellent Pushkara and saw Vishwamitra. He showed distress in his face. He was miserable because of thirst and exhaustion. He fell down on the sage lap and spoke these words: I do not have a mother nor a father. Where are my kin and relatives, O amiable one, O bull among sages, following Dharma? You should save me, O best among sages. You alone are the preceptor and preserver of everything. Let the king be successful, but let me also have a undecaying and long life. Let me torment myself through the best among austerities and obtain the world of heaven. Using your intelligence, become a preceptor to one who is without a preceptor, or one with dharma in his soul like a father. You should save me from all difficulty. Hearing these words, Vishwamitra, the gay strategic, confronted him in various ways. He spoke these words to his son. Father gave birth to sons for the sake of welfare and benefit in the worlds thereafter. 100 years were over. After the war was over, the great sage bathed, and all the gods assembled to grant him the fruits he desired from the austerities. The greatly energetic Brahma spoke these extremely agreeable words to him: O fortunate one, through your own auspicious deeds, you have now become a rishi. Having said this, the Lord of the gods again returned to heaven. The immensely energetic Vishwamitra performed great austerities again. O best among men, after a long period of time, the supreme Apsara Menka arrived and started to bath in Pushkara. Kusika's greatly energetic son saw Menka. She was unmatched in her beauty and was like a flash of lightning in a cloud. On seeing her, the sage came under the subjugation of Kandarpa and spoke these words: O Apsara, welcome. Reside here in my hermitage, O fortunate one. Show me your favors. I am extremely confounded by Madana. Thus addressed the beautiful one, started to dwell there. Vishwamitra was confronted with a great obstruction in his austerities, O Raghava, O amiable one. While she happily dwelt there in Vishwamitra's hermitage, 10 years passed. After this time had passed, the great sage Vishwamitra became ashamed. He was overcome by sorrow and started to think, O descendant of the Raghu lineage, the sage had intolerant thoughts. All the gods have done this to rob me of my great austerities. 10 years have passed like only a day and a night, because I was overcome by desire and confusion. This obstruction has presented itself. The supreme among sages cited. He showed with repentance. He saw that the Apsara was terrified and trembling, her hands joined in salutation. Using sweet words, Kushika's son asked Menaka to leave. O Rama, Vishwamitra then went to the northern mountains, wishing to conquer desire. The immensely illustrious one turned to devotion on the banks of the Kaushiki. He tormented himself through extremely difficult austerities. O Rama, in the northern mountain, he practiced terrible austerities for 1,000 years, and the gods were sacred, all the large number of rishis and gods assembled and consulted, deciding that Koshika's son should be successful in obtaining the appellation of Maharshi. Hearing the words of the gods, the grandfather of all the worlds, spoke these sweet words to Vishwamitra: The store of austerities, O son, O Maharshi, welcome. I am satisfied by your phrase, austerities, O Kausika. I grant you the title of Maharshi. Hearing Brahma's word, Vishwamitra, the store of austerities, bowed down, joining his hands in salutation. He replied to the grandfather, O illustrious one, if I have accumulated unsurpassed merit through my own auspicious deeds, if I have conquered my senses, you should address me as Brahmarshi. Brahma told him, O tiger among sages, you have still not conquered your senses and need to strive more. Saying this, he returned to heaven. The gods also departed. The great sage Vishwamitra stood with his hands raised up without any support, subsisting only on air. He performed austerities during the summer. He observed the five fires during the monsoon. The open sky was his shelter during the winter. During night and day, the store of austerities slept in the water. In this way, he performed face austerities for 1000 years. While Vishwamitra, the great sage, tormented himself in this way, Bashava and the other gods were extremely frightened. With the large number of Maruts, Shakra spoke words that were beneficial to him but not beneficial to Kaushika or to the Apsara Rambha. O Rambha, you have to perform an extremely great task for the gods. You have to seduce Kaushika, confounding him with desire. Kaushika means Vishwamitra. O Rama, thus addressed, the Apsara spoke to the intelligent and 1000-eyed one. She joined her hands in salutation and replied to the Lord of the Gods, O Lord of the Gods, the great sage Vishwamitra is terrible, O God. There is no doubt that he will unleash his terrible rage on me, O God. I am frightened on that account, and you should show me your favors. The 1000-eyed one, means Indra, one, replied to the one who was trembling, her hands joined in salutation, O Rambha, do not be scared and act accordingly to my instructions. I will become a cuckoo that sing in beautiful and agreeable tones in the trees during the springs. With Kandarpa, I will be at your side. Assume an extremely radiant form that is beautiful in many ways, O Rambha. Create conflict in that rishi and ascetic Kaushika. Hearing these words, she assumed a form that was supreme in beauty. The sweet smiling and beautiful one tempted Vishwamitra. He heard the melodious tones of the cuckoo singing, and with a gladdened heart, he glanced towards her. However, on hearing the unmatched tones of the song and on seeing Rambha, the sage was auspicious. The bull among sages discerned that this was the work of the 1000-eyed one, means Indra. Overcome with rage, Kausika's son cursed Rambha. O Rambha, I have been trying to conquer desire and anger, but you have tempted me. O unfortunate one, for 10,000 years you will become a rock. O Rambha, you have been tainted by my rage, and extremely energetic Brahmana, full of the strength of austerities, will eventually save you. Vishwamitra, the extremely energetic and great sage, spoke in this way. However, because he was incapable of controlling his anger, he also repented. Because of the great curse, Rambha became a rock. On hearing these words, Kandarpa fled from the Maharshi, having succumbed to rage. In immensely energetic one was devastated of his store of austerities. O Rama, having not been able to conquer his senses, he could not find any peace in his mind. O Rama, next chapter. O Rama, the great rage abandoned the direction of Himalayas. He restored to the eastern direction and practiced extremely terrible austerities. He observed a supreme vow and did not speak For 1000 years, O Rama, he performed extremely difficult and unmatched austerities. For 1000 years, the great sage was like a block of wood. Through confronted with many kinds of obstructions, anger did not enter his heart. The gods, the Gandharvas and the serpents, the Asuras and the Rakshasas were confounded by his anger. His austerities dwelled their own radiance, since this was like a tent. All of them addressed the grandfather. We have sought to tempt the great sage Vishwamitra in many kinds of ways, but because of his austerities, he had not allowed his rage to increase. Not even a subtle signs of weakness can be seen in him. If he is not granted what is in his mind through his austerities, he will destroy the three worlds and all their mobile and immobile objects. All the directions are innoxious and nothing can be seen. All the oceans are turbulent and the mountains are being shattered. The earth is trembling and an extremely tumultuous wind is raging. O God, O illustrious one, the immensely radiant one has a form like that of Agni. The great sage should be shown favors before he makes up his mind to destroy everything. In earlier times, the fire of destruction destroyed everything in the three worlds. Even if he desired the kingdom of the gods, it is our view that it should be granted that all the gods, with the grandfather at the forefront, approached the great soul Vishwamitra and addressed him in these sweet words: O Brahmarshi, welcome. We are extremely satisfied with your austerities, O Kaushika. Through your free austerities, you have obtained the status of a Brahmana. O Brahmana, with a large number of marus, I grant you a long life, O fortunate one. O amiable one, may you be fortunate. You can now return to wherever you come from, hearing the grandfather's word, and those of all the residents of heaven. The great sage was delighted. He bowed down before them and said, since I have obtained the status of a Brahmana and have also received a long life, may own Vashakara and the Vedas reveal themselves to me. O God, Vasishtha is Brahma's son. May he also acknowledge me as the best among those who possesses the knowledge of the Kshatriyas and the knowledge of the Brahmanas. O bulls among the gods, depart only after you have accomplished this supreme desire of mine. The gods showed him their favors. Vasishtha, supreme among those who meditate, also arrived, made his friendship, and said, you are a Brahmarshi. Since you are now a Brahmarshi, there is no doubt that everything will now manifest itself before you. After this was said, all the gods went away to wherever they had come from. Vishwamitra, with dharma in his soul, obtained the supreme status of being a Brahmana. He worshipped Brahmarshi Vasishtha, supreme among those who meditate. Having obtained his wish, he based himself on austerities and roamed around the entire earth. O Rama, this is how the great soul one obtained the status of being a Brahmana. O Rama, he is the best among sages. He is the embodiment of austerities. He is always devoted to supreme dharma and valor. In the presence of Rama and Lakshmana, Janaka heard Shatananda's words. He joined his hands in salutation and spoke these words to Kushika's son Vishwamitra. O bull among sages, O one who follows dharma, I am blessed that you have shown me your favors and have come to this sacrifice with Kukutsa. O Brahmana, O great sage, your mere sight has purified me. By beholding you, I have obtained many kinds of qualities, O Brahmana. I and the immensely energetic and great soul Rama have heard the detailed recital of your great austerities. The assistant priest in this assembly have also heard about your many qualities. Austerities are your austerities are immeasurable, your strength is immeasurable. O Kaushika's son, your qualities are always immeasurable. O Lord, creatures are never satisfied at hearing about your extraordinary account, O best among sages. However, the solar disk is enlarged and it is time for the rituals. O immensely energetic one, tomorrow morning I will see you again. O best among ascetic, welcome. You should grant me permission to live now. The best among sages was thus addressed by the Lord of Vedahi and Mithila, who circumambulated him together with his priests and relatives, worshipped by the Maharshi with Rama and Lakshmana, Vishwamitra with Dharma in his soul, left for his own residence. Next chapter. When it was sprinkling morning, the king performed the morning rituals and invited the great soul Vishwamitra and Raghava following the ordinance laid down in the sacred text. He worshipped the great soul one and the two great souled Raghava. He then spoke these words: O illustrious one, O unblemished one, welcome. What can I do for you? O illustrious one, command me. I am ready to be commanded by you. The one with dharma in his soul was thus addressed by the great soul Janaka. The rage eloquent in the use of words replied in these words to the valiant one. These two are the sons of Dasharatha. They are Kshatriyas and are famous in this world. They wish to see the supreme bow that is in your possession. O fortunate one, if they can see the bow, the wishes of the two princes will satisfied.